Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our Family Court Judicial Race Candidate Forum. The Courier-Journal is here in partnership with the League of Women Voters, and we're at the beautiful new space of the Louisville Bar Association, who is hosting this evening. We are here because Judge Gina Calvert is retiring, and we are replacing her at the end of this year with the three candidates in front of you. You may have noticed that the advertisement for this forum only listed two candidates, and that is because we were not sure that Allison Spencer Russell would be joining us until after the advertisements went out. But all three are here this evening, and we will get started. Judicial races are nonpartisan, so these forums are super important because a lot of voters like to vote on party lines, and that just does not work when it comes to judicial races. So we need to hear from the candidates, listen to them, and make our choices with some knowledge and understanding as to who we are going to elect to the family court bench. We will start this evening with a 2-minute introduction from each candidate, and we will begin with Laura Russell. Laura, 2 minutes.
Good evening. I am Laura Russell, and I'm excited to be running for Jefferson Family Court Division 9. I want to thank our hosts, our sponsors, our moderator, you in the audience, and those who are live streaming with us. I think that this judicial forum is very important because being a family court judge is an important job. I believe that families are the foundation of our community, and as such, I think judges should treat families and people with respect, fairness, give them an opportunity to be heard, listened to, and provide a well-run courtroom. I have seen firsthand, as both a practicing family law attorney as well as a former family court judge who was appointed by Governor Andy Beshear, that the decisions judges make have lasting impacts on families, children, and our community. I've practiced law for over 2 decades, the majority of which has been dedicated to representing families all across Jefferson County, all walks of life, helping them to navigate through the hardest times of their life, through divorce, child custody, child support, and even domestic violence. I serve as a guardian ad litem representing children in the dependency, neglect, and abuse cases. I've also navigated families through the divorce process or through the adoption process. As a former family court judge, I know what this job entails. I've done this job. I've been the one who's made those hard decisions about what families are facing in Jefferson County. I'm endorsed by 10 former court judges here in Jefferson County, the majority of which are family court judges, including the judge who retired, and I'm looking to fill her seat in this election. I am proud to be endorsed by people who've actually done this job and who believe that I have the best skill sets, value, experience, and demeanor to proudly, honorably, and fairly support and serve the families of Jefferson County. Thank you.
Thank you. Zach McKee.
Good evening. My name is Zach McKee, and I'm running for Family Court Judge here in Jefferson County, Family Court Division 9. I would also like to thank our hosts, the moderators, everyone who's watching online, as well as everyone here tonight. I would just like to start off a little bit about me personally. I have a 13-year-old son who attends JCTMS, and growing up, my mom was a single parent. She was also a victim of domestic violence. She didn't receive any support, which is the majority of family court cases that you see in family court. Just a little bit about me professionally. I started my career off as a judicial staff attorney. I worked for a family court judge in Jefferson County and in Fayette County. So my job as a judicial staff attorney was to help the judges make decisions, do legal research, type orders, anything that the judge needed you to do, that's what you did, and I did that for 2 different family court judges. I've been practicing. Then I started my private practice, and I've been in private practice for a decade. I've been a guardian ad litem, where I'm appointed to represent children who've been abused and neglected for 3 different family court judges here in Jefferson County. So my job is to protect children who have been, whether it's born addicted to drugs, broken bones, anything like that. I get appointed to represent those children. I also get appointed to represent children on the DVO docket, those who are victims of domestic violence. I am more than qualified for the position. I've worked for 2 different family court judges, haven't made decisions for them. I have actual practical life experiences as well that make me sympathetic to the families that come in family court, because they're not there to get married. They're there because they're going through family court issues similar to what I understand and I know, and I've helped families with the last 10 years. My name is Zach McKee, and I would love to have your vote on November the 5th.
Thank you. Allison Spencer Russell.
Thank you. Like my other candidates, I would like to thank the LBA, the Courier-Journal, the Women Lawyers Association, the Louisville League for Women Voters, and many more who are putting on this event today. Just to address something that Bonnie said at the outset is that it's accurate. I was uncertain if I would be here today, and I had this exact discussion with my son the other day. I said, well, he's 16. So after him hearing a whole bunch of no cap, brah, we were able to get to a regular conversation. But I said, you may have noticed that I've been around, I haven't been going to a lot of events, and that's because I've decided to drop out of the race. And he looked at me and he said, okay, well, I guess I'll just stop my dreams too when they become inconvenient. And I think he was being sarcastic, but it's still difficult to be owned by your teenage son. So that's why I'm here today, is I want to set a good example for my son. I kind of pride myself on my experience in family court. I've done just about every single type of case you can possibly do. I've litigated in every single court that has family law issues, district court. I've had a circuit court case. I've had hundreds of thousands of family court cases. I've been to the Court of Appeals. I've been to the Supreme Court. I've been to the Supreme Court of the United States. I have changed law 3 times. I have multiple published cases. So like these other practitioners, I have my own small family practice where all I do all day long is practice family law. That's what I love. That's what I know. I'm not ever going to do anything different. I'm a regularly appointed friend of court and parenting coordinator, in addition to also being a parent's attorney and guardian ad litem in these other dockets these other candidates explained. So my name's Allison Spencer Russell, and I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much, all candidates. For our first question, and all questions will have a 90-second time to answer. We're going to start with you, Zach McKee. This is the first question. What qualities do you have to be a judge beyond having a law degree?
So the qualities that I kind of expressed initially, I am compassionate. I do care. I think that shows in the fact that I've been hired by 2 different family court judges to be their staff attorney, as well as 3 different family court judges to be a guardian ad litem. I would like to mention that I also was a guardian ad litem in Fayette County, as well as Meade and Breckenridge County, and so those judges too asked me to be a guardian ad litem for them. So I think my qualities beyond my law degree include the fact that I'm compassionate. I actually care. I've shown that through my work, as well as my life experiences, growing up with a mother, seeing her struggle, seeing domestic violence, knowing how those issues play with children, how those play with the victims as well. So I do believe that beyond my legal degree, that those are the qualifications that I have.
Thank you. Allison Spencer Russell, what qualities do you have beyond a legal degree?
Thank you. First of all, I have a lot of legal aptitude, having practiced in the Court of Appeals and Supreme Court of Kentucky, and I think that's important. Additionally, I have also served as a staff attorney, much like Mr. McKee, although only in 1 county, so I know what it's like to draft an order and draft it quickly and correctly the first time. More importantly, though, I grew up in a family where mental illness was prevalent. I kind of pride myself on being compassionate and caring and listening to people. I've been that attorney who has represented a client who has almost thrown the table over because they were so upset about the loss of their child or the loss of their case. And I've been that person to kind of look at them and figure out the root problem, the underlying mental illness that's not gone treated, and kind of talk to that person in lay terms and talk them off the ledge and actually get to a point where we're making progress to getting their children back. Most of the people that come in front of family court are pro se. They don't have attorneys. So I like to pride myself as well on someone who's able to really boil it down for people. What I'm doing, what it means, where we go from here. And I think that, you need to have someone who is also well-versed and prepared to talk to pro se litigants.
Thank you. Laura Russell?
The qualities beyond a law degree, I am going to put it in the context of being a former family court judge. I have the 2 decades of experience as a family lawyer, but beyond just being a lawyer, I've represented people on all issues in family court in front of judges, and I know what families want. And when I was a judge, it was important to me to remember what families needed. They're in the middle of a crisis. And so as a judge, I wanted to treat everyone fairly. I wanted to be respectful. I wanted everyone to have an opportunity to be heard and to feel like they were listened to. And I wanted to have a well-run courtroom. I wanted to be respectful of people's time. So I think beyond having a law degree, just understanding what people want and what people need. This is their first sometimes experience in court. And so as a judge, I wanted to be compassionate and make sure they understood that I cared what they had to say. And I think that if you allow people to the opportunity to be heard, that regardless of the outcome, they can accept it because they had their day in court. They had an opportunity to be heard. And so beyond the law degree, just being compassionate, listening to people, and being respectful.
Thank you. Zach McKee, you have 30 seconds for any additional thoughts.
I don't have any additional.
Okay. Allison Spencer Russell?
None.
Laura?
I agree with the other 2 candidates.
Wonderful. Our next question will go to Allison Spencer Russell. How will you work to ensure equality for people of all backgrounds in your courtroom?
Okay. Very important question. I think that one way to ensure equality is, first of all, like I said, understanding that most people come before the court don't have some fancy private attorney that they've paid thousands of dollars. And you've got to treat the person who's sitting there solo, all by themselves, against another person who's sitting there with maybe 2 attorneys in their corner. You have to treat them the same, irrespective of whether you have tremendous respect for that counsel, irrespective of someone's behavior in court. You have to keep it cool and you have to put everything into perspective. So one of the ways to do that is, number one, have a lot of experience in family court so that you can understand the different types of people that come, the stressors that come with each community. You also learn to read people well and how, what makes people tick. So I think a lot of it comes down to just having that experience, that compassion, and applying it to the real world, the real people sitting in front of you, and how you make them both feel heard and understood, but at the same time apply the law correctly so that everybody has a good outcome.
Thank you. Laura Russell, how will you ensure equality for people of all backgrounds in your courtroom?
I have represented families all across Jefferson County, all walks of life, and as a former family court judge, people from all over the county, all walks of life, different experiences were before me. I always treated people equally, fairly, because they have an issue and they need a solution. They're in turmoil. You're not in family court unless for adoptions, unless you're really in turmoil and you need help. You need solutions. So it doesn't matter where you're from, what you look like, what gender you are. It doesn't matter. Everyone deserves their day in court. They deserve to be heard. They deserve to be respected. And I treated everyone equally. I will continue to do that. I do that as a person, as a practicing lawyer, and as a judge.
Thank you. Zach McKee, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay. How will you work to ensure equality for people of all backgrounds in your courtroom?
So I think that is a wonderful question, and so I would like to say that I have represented and practiced in every element of family court. I've represented Hispanics, blacks, whites, men, women, gay, straight, newborns to 17-year-old children. I've represented people in great neighborhoods and projects, and I went to their homes. I've done a lot for different people of different backgrounds, different religions and races, and I think one element is to be patient. I think that a lot of the family courtroom is you have interpreters, you have Hispanic cases, a ton of Hispanic cases. You have to have patience, you need to listen. And so I will ensure that everyone is listened to, everyone is respected, that everyone has their day and their time in court. Just no different than what I've done as an actual practicing attorney. I will ensure that as an actual judge, to ensure that everyone is treated fairly And I think that representation does matter. I think that the bench and the bar should be a representation of the actual litigants, of the people in the community. And I think that I am a representation of that as an African American man.
Thank you. Allison Spencer Russell, you have 30 seconds for any additional thoughts.
Yeah, I believe Zach was, he mentioned something that's pretty important, is that we do have a lot of non-English speakers come before the court. And the other day I heard a sheriff grumbling, oh, this is an interpreter case. I do think that the courts lack a lot of competence when it comes to making sure we get those interpreters in and that everybody, everything goes smoothly on that end. I think there's a lot of work to be done there. And so I think that was a pretty important thing to point out, that we also, we need to be more respectful and mindful of those who don't speak English very well.
Thank you. Laura Russell, any additional thoughts?
I don't think I have any additional thoughts. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you. Zach, any final thoughts?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Laura Russell, your next question is for you. What strategies would you use to remain impartial while presiding over a case?
Having already done the job, I think that being impartial is something I'm already used to doing, because as I've already said, I think it's so important to be respectful to everyone. I think if you ask someone who was in my courtroom, that they would tell you that I was respectful, I was fair, and I gave everybody an opportunity to be heard. And so when you do that, that's my strategy, to be impartial. I don't care, for what race, what religion. I don't care about those things. What I care about is hearing about what's important to these families and what solution they need to move their lives forward and perhaps heal. And so the strategy is just listening and just being a compassionate, fair, and reasonable person.
Thank you. Zach McKee, what strategies would you use to remain impartial while presiding over a case?
So having been a staff attorney and worked for 2 different family court judges and seen probably thousands of cases, I would say that I've learned that you never know what someone's going through that day. You never know that if someone that is acting up in court, if they have lost their parent, if they lost a close family member, if they're going through a hard time, if they've been evicted, the house burned down, you never know what that individual person is going through. So I don't think that you should take it personally if someone is having a bad day. That's not to say that you as a judge should take disrespect. You just don't know what that person is going through. So I think you need to talk and communicate to the individual to the extent that you can talk and communicate with them. I think Allison had pointed out a lot of cases are pro se cases, or where the people don't have an attorney. And so, you need to be patient. You need to talk to them. You need to understand where they're coming from or what the issue is to get to the ultimate issue. So I think, not being concerned about who the attorney is on a case, not being concerned about who supported who, not being concerned about favors or anything like that, just doing what's in the best interest of the child is what's important. And I think that's what will make, sorry.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. No, that was my fault. You can finish your thought.
No, it's fine. It's
okay.
fine.
Thank you. Allison Spencer Russell, how will you remain impartial?
I practice impartiality on a daily basis, and what I mean by that is when my clients come in, they want to tell you everything, and you have to exercise your discretion to tell them when they're being stupid, honestly. When that complaint is frivolous, when a judge is really not going to care about something they're saying, and when the judge is definitely going to care about something they're saying. I try to be one of those attorneys that doesn't bring a whole bunch of nonsense before the court. I try to be very measured in my approach and talk to my clients and kind of get through to the bottom of what they're saying. But at the same time, my duty is to them to be an aggressive advocate within reason, is what I call it. So, that's just impartiality. In order to be a good, effective attorney is something you should exercise daily. And I don't think I would have any problem transferring that skill over to the bench.
Thank you. Laura Russell, any additional thoughts?
No additional thoughts on that question.
Zach McKee?
No additional thoughts.
Allison, you got 30 more seconds. Anything else?
I'm good. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so much. Zach McKee, the next question is for you. What are the biggest challenges for the family court system to improve in its service to families and children?
That's a very good question. I would say I would like to talk about the dependency, neglect, and abuse docket involving CPS cases. So I was actually just having a conversation today on the docket with one of the CPS workers, and I think one thing can be the docket call. I think that is a large thing that can help improve the timing, the court system in general. For example, typically when a CPS case or when Child Protective Services is involved and they file a petition, you have a temporary removal hearing. We call them TRHs. And so the investigative worker who's there on the TRH could be there for 4 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, waiting for that TRH to be called. And so I think one thing you can do is to call the TRHs first. They're temporary removal hearings. And I know in Fayette County that's what we did. We had the temporary removal hearings at 8:30. I know that there's a lot of logistics. There are CPS workers in different courtrooms and things like that. But I think the efficiency of the docket is one thing that I would look to improve, or that could be improved, whether it's and be mindful that there are multiple dockets. There's not just dependency, neglect, and abuse cases. There's the domestic violence docket. There's the circuit court custody docket, the paternity docket. So I think that, finding a way to improve those dockets and the flow of the dockets is one way to improve that efficiency.
Thank you. Allison Spencer Russell, what are the biggest challenges for the family court system to improve in its service to families and children?
The biggest challenge is the flow of work. And exactly, how many, sorry, I'm looking at the camera, how many cases come before the courts on a daily basis. I do believe docket management is kind of its biggest struggle. And a lot of times I'll tell my clients who have important issues, I'll say, well, we're not going to be able to get in for a trial for the next 3 months. And frankly, that's a little troubling. One thing Judge Calvert did that I loved and I was a huge fan of is she wouldn't even give you a trial date unless you were ready to go. Discovery done, all of the experts' reports done, depositions done, you're ready to go. Then you could get a trial pretty fast. And so she had excellent docket management. And I think that's a lot of things that, I know there's sitting judges in the back and they all, they're all doing their best with the flow of work, but I agree with Zach. There's definitely measures we can take to try to help the flow of cases when it comes to time management, docket management, and just making sure things are running more efficiently.
Thank you. Laura Russell.
As a practicing family lawyer, the biggest challenge is the overload of cases. I saw that when I was a judge. And I think post-COVID, cases have increased. And we have 10 judges. We have 5 days in a week, and we have a work day. And so making decisions, being efficient, starting on time, having a well-run docket, well-run courtroom, I think those things are all important. I think that there probably needs to be more resources here in Jefferson County. Perhaps we even need a new judge. There are lots of cases, and the way cases are distributed now is random. It used to be based upon the alphabet. But I don't think that additional resources in Jefferson County would be a bad idea to add another judge, to take some caseload, to take some cases off some judges. I know that, for example, in family court now, the domestic violence statute has been expanded to involve siblings can take out emergency protective orders against one another, so that adds caseloads to dockets. The family court's also hearing IPO cases, which are interpersonal orders involving people who are in dating relationships, stalking, sexual assault. So that's additional cases that the family court judges have to hear. So ultimately, I'm encouraged. The Supreme Court just elected a new chief judge, a woman, a family court judge. So I hope that would be helpful for Jefferson County and family court.
Thank you. Zach McKee, any additional thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just add one thing. I think Laura made a good point concerning maybe an additional judge. I believe there are 16 district court judges and 13 circuit court judges and only 10 family court judges. I do think that family court could use additional judges because I believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong or do the research, but there's more family court cases than circuit court cases. And I do think that additional family court judges would absolutely be beneficial.
Thank you. Allison Spencer Russell?
I'd agree with that. I'd support 11th, 12th Division of Family Court. I don't know where they would go, but it's definitely necessary. And I think all of us are concerned about the workload and docket management, and that would definitely help.
Allison Spencer Russell, the next question starts with you. As a candidate, have you filed all of your campaign finance reports with the Kentucky Registry of the Election Finance?
No, I thought I was dropping out. I have not done that, so I have a phone call scheduled with them tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Laura Russell, as a candidate, have you filed all of your campaign finance reports with the Kentucky Registry of Election Finance?
Bonnie, I was the first candidate for a file for this race. I have never wavered in wanting to be a family court judge. I have never, ever thought about dropping out of this race because it's too important. So yes, I am compliant. I'm in compliance with CREF.
Thank you. Zach McKee?
Yes, I'm in compliance as well. I have filed everything, yes.
Thank you. Allison, any additional thoughts?
No. I never intend to not follow the law. It just was a lot. I was a lot of stuff going on, but I'm here now, so it'll get rectified. Thank you.
Any additional comments from you, Laura?
I have no additional
Zach?
comments.
No, I have no additional comments.
Laura, the next question comes to you. Laura Russell, how has Zoom helped and or hindered court proceedings, and what changes do you think should be made to keep or limit its use?
So I have a lot of thoughts on Zoom hearings. I think pre-COVID, of course, we didn't have Zoom hearings. As a practicing family law attorney, I love Zoom for motion hours, which is a Monday all-day event where you go from courtroom to courtroom, and I love attending these by Zoom. It saves clients money because I can get on in my office and attend a hearing, attend motion hour, and so I think that's been really great. I love Zoom in that it gives accessibility to people who have a hard time with consistent transportation. So I think that Zoom is really great in that aspect. And but I do think that it is challenging because as a judge, your job is to judge credibility of witnesses. And when you're on Zoom, the only thing that a judge can see, and I know this from experience, is where the camera's pointed. I don't know who else is in that room with them. It's if the Wi-Fi is not great, it can disconnect, and so you're finished with your hearing. There's no way to call them back, and you've got another case that has to be called. So it has its challenges, but it's definitely improved the efficiency, cost to clients, and it's helped with the accessibility for people who have unreliable transportation. And so thank you for that question. That was a great one.
Great, thank you. Zach McKee, how has Zoom helped and or hindered court proceedings, and what changes do you think should be made to keep or limit its use?
I mean, I think it's helped in terms of efficiency for attorneys, and as Laura said, for litigants too. But attorneys can, join motion hour from their office if need be, and then finish motion hour and get right back to work or working on something that they were working on, whether it's another motion, a filing, or something like that. So I think it's been very efficient for attorneys. I believe that it's been efficient for litigants as well. I'm not sure about having a full-day trial or a 2-day trial via Zoom, especially if there's 30 or 40 exhibits or 10, 15 exhibits, or the length of the exhibits, or if it's a thumb drive or video needs to be played and things like that. So I think that those are potential issues with using Zoom as far as for full-out trials. I know some judges that won't do that will require you to be in person, whether that's a different county or Jefferson County. And I think one of the problems is when some litigants may be more emboldened on Zoom and be more disrespectful or out of control. I've seen a lot of more than you would see in person. So whether it's litigants just talking over the judge or being disrespectful or things like that. So that would be my only concern, with Zoom, or issue with Zoom.
Thank you. Allison Spencer Russell, how has Zoom helped and or hindered court proceedings, and what changes do you think should be made to keep or limit its use?
Well, what happened outside the Hardin County Courthouse a few months ago, Zoom should remain in place for domestic violence victims, period. And I believe it's helped the DV process a lot because people did feel safer coming to court and, confronting their abuser and actually asserting themselves and their rights and getting a protective order because they had the Zoom option. And so I think that has helped with the safety component. And I also think, we have attorneys across the state, and, it's helping them get to a court that they would otherwise not practice in, or they would otherwise not help a client in, because there's either mobility issues, transportation issues, or they're doing 5 different things at once, and it can help attorneys actually represent clients where previously they could not. There are struggles with regard to presenting exhibits. However, since this has been going on since 2020, I think all of the attorneys have become pretty proficient in throwing documents up on the screen to help the judges kind of move through that process faster. I've got to agree with Zach in that sometimes we have people get out of control and they're emboldened by the fact that they're not sitting in the room with the judge when they start cussing and going off. There's a mute option for that, and those are my thoughts.
Okay. Thank you. Laura Russell, any final thoughts?
I don't have anything I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Zach?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Allison, I'm assuming that's it?
That's it.
That's right. Okay. Zach McKee, we'll start the next question with you. How will you work to issue timely decisions in court and submit timely written judgments?
So, I've had the pleasure of working as a staff attorney for 2 different judges, and so that was a part of my role, is to help the judges type the orders and write the orders. So the judge I worked for had a 2-week turnaround, and I think it's time management. I think that there's a way where you can manage your time, maybe do a writing day as the judge. To actually, ensure that you get those decisions out timely in a timely manner. I think that is a extremely important question, and important issue, because I do think that, and there's no disrespect to the judges, but they hear a lot of cases, but it can be a while for you to get a hearing, or not a hearing, but an order. And I think that, that's what the people come to court for. They come to court to get an order, to get a decision. They have an issue. They are relying on the judge to make the decision for them, to help them. So I think that's important. I will do everything I can, similar to what I did as a staff attorney, to ensure that orders are getting out within the 2-week time period, or as soon as possible. Especially depending on the issue, whether it's an emergency situation involving custody, or you heard a bad custody case or visitation case, or a grandparent visitation case, whatever that issue is. I think it's important to try to get that order out very soon, and I will do everything in my power, similar to what I've already done when I was a staff attorney.
Thank you. Allison Spencer Russell, how will you work to issue timely decisions in court and submit timely written judgments?
And I've noted this to her previously, but one thing that I thought was awesome that Laura Russell did when she was a judge is that I would see on her calendar that she had a writing day. And I thought, well, that's pretty important to make sure you're on top of your orders and that they're getting out. The good thing about being an appellate attorney is that I've written briefs where I'm explaining the law in detail and the nuances, and I have those templates ready and available to plug into orders. You have to trust your staff attorney. You have to have a good staff attorney, one who's good at writing, one who has a good work ethic, and one who can help you do a draft, a good one, the first time, and not have very many revisions. One thing that Judge Ogden does that I really appreciate is that she writes the order while she's sitting there listening to the testimony. You will get an order out of her courtroom within weeks. And so that is something that I personally think is a great thing to do, and I would apply that to my own practice as a judge.
Thank you. Laura Russell.
Families all across Jefferson County are in family court because they're in turmoil. Excuse me, allergies. And the reason they're there is that they need guidance, they need a solution from a judge. And so I do think it is the responsibility of judges to get an answer quickly. So I think that sometimes you can make a decision from the bench, followed up with an order. As from experience, there are a lot of cases, and so you have to work collaboratively with your staff to get things out quickly. But I understand people want answers; they need to move forward with their lives, and so as a judge, I made a commitment to do that for people, and I thought it was important. In terms of what Allison has said about the writing day, I can't take credit. Former Judge Tara Haggerty had instituted it. I thought it was a great idea. I only did it when cases would settle and there was nothing left on the docket. And so what do you do that day? You write opinions and you try to get those out so people can move forward with their lives and start the healing process.
Thank you. Zach McKee, any final thoughts?
No, ma'am.
Allison?
No, ma'am.
No? Laura, I assume? No more from you?
No more.
Okay. This is our last question, and then we'll have final statements from the candidates. And this one will start with Allison Spencer Russell. What should be the family court judge's role within the community beyond the courthouse?
I think you need to be a good role model for every child who comes before your court. A lot of times it's pretty scary for them to be in there. I think it's important for someone to see that, you can show compassion and also be a public figure. Wearing a robe can be pretty scary, I think. I also like pilot projects, and I discussed with Judge Stone and other judges. I said, I think maybe there needs to be we have a recovery family court for children or for individuals getting their children back who are struggling with substance use disorder. We are taking children away from domestic violence victims. And domestic violence is very nuanced. It's not just assault. There's a lot of different forms of it. And I think that there probably needs to be a specialty court for that. So I just think thinking outside the box and being involved in the community and setting up yourself as a good role model, probably the best ways a judge can be involved in the community.
Thank you. Laura Russell, what should be the family court judge's role within the community beyond the courthouse?
So Judge Webb is here with us tonight. You can't see him, but I see him constantly on social media, and he is everywhere at schools, at events, at community events, and he is always encouraging people and supporting people and doing all that he can. I think it's a judge's responsibility outside of the courtroom to be a positive role model and to help the community in other ways besides finding solutions. Volunteer, do what Judge Webb does, model that behavior. But I love, I love campaigning because it's an opportunity to get out in the community and meet families and children, and it's just a wonderful way to connect with the community. So I think it's important for a judge, and I think we all should do it.
Thank you. Zach McKee, what should be the family court judge's role within the community beyond the courthouse?
So, I would agree with what Laura and Allison both have stated. I think that, showing up, to the schools, going to churches, going to community events are all good things for a judge to do, to show the people that you're human, to show the people that, you're not above anyone else, that you are just like they are. You just make the decisions inside the courtroom. So I think that, they have both said that, very well, and I would agree with that.
Thank you. Allison, any final thoughts?
No, ma'am.
No? Laura? Nope. And Zach, I was
No,
we're
thank you.
finished. All right, well, that is our final question, and now the candidates will each have 2 minutes each to have any final thoughts. It's something I didn't ask, something I didn't cover, and we will start with Laura Russell.
I want a community where every child in Jefferson County has a safe environment, where they're loved and protected by people. I have spent over 2 decades as a practicing attorney. I've dedicated the majority of that representing families all across Jefferson County. I've represented them during the hardest times in their life: divorce, child support, custody, domestic violence. I serve as a guardian ad litem in the dependency, neglect, and abuse cases. And as a former family court judge, I've done that job. I see how important it is for families, and I want to spend the rest of my career helping families in Jefferson County. I think it is so important. I have been endorsed by former judges in this county, and I am proud of that because they have these are people who have done this job, and they did it well. And for them to say that I have the best skill set, values, experience, and demeanor to proudly and honorably serve the families of Jefferson County, I'm proud of that, and I would love your support and your trust in me. I've done it before. I'm proven, trusted, and fair. I love your vote on November 5th or early voting. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Zach McKee, 2 minutes.
Thank you. I would love your vote. I would love your support. I bring diversity to the bench, and I bring experience and qualifications. My experience is both personal life experiences as well as legal experiences. I'm in the family court system for a decade. Again, my mother was a single parent. She didn't receive support, and she was a victim of domestic violence. That is the majority of family court cases, and I know those feelings of those children, those victims, and those single parents. And I think family court is not just divorces. Family court is domestic violence. It is dependency, neglect, and abuse. It is domestic. It is paternity, child support cases. And so, not only do I have those personal life experiences, but I have the professional experience as well. And also, I think that the bench, should be reflective of the community. I believe that there is a shortage of men and black men on the bench. And so I'm not just qualified, I also bring diversity to the bench, and I would love to have your vote and your support. And just like tonight, I'm sitting between two wonderful women. You can find me on the ballot between two wonderful women, either early voting or on November the 5th, Zach McKee. I would love to have your vote and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Allison Spencer Russell, 2 minutes.
Thank you. I would like to note that my last time that I ran, I was endorsed by CFAIR. They're not doing an endorsement this year. But that brings me to the point that I pride myself on being a person who is fair and honest and compassionate. And those are attributes I would bring to the bench. And previously I had touted, all of my legal knowledge, my years of experience, the fact that I've changed the law in the past, and I think that's equally important. A lot of people want to say, oh, I'm compassionate, I'm fair, I'm this or that. Do you know the law? Are you proficient in the law? Can you apply the law? I think is something that's often overlooked when we're talking about judicial campaigns. We have two other lovely candidates, which is why I was totally comfortable stepping down and dealing with family issues, and I was honestly, for the longest time, not willing to give up the last 2 years I have with my son. But again, this is a job I want. I started my career working for a judge. I'm really big in community involvement. I do the Rainbow Name Change Clinic where I help trans individuals change their name. And I've done, you either want to be part of the community, help the community, or you just want to be a judge. And so part of my reason I'm running is that I really want to help this community that I've come to love. I'm not from here, but I moved here, fell in love with a man, had a child here who I'm raising, started a business here. I want to give back to this wonderful community, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for coming out, and I do want to point out that we are here tonight because there is a judge retiring. Gina Calvert is retiring, and last year we were here because Tara Haggerty also was retiring. And the thing that is significant about that can't be understated is both of these judges have retired citing health issues because of the stress that working in family court brings. And because of that, I sent each of these candidates additional questions specifically regarding that topic. And I didn't ask them here tonight because I want their thoughtful written responses for a future Courier-Journal Q&A that will be published prior to the election. So please be on the lookout for those, because those are also very important questions that I want to give them the thought and the space that they deserve. So again, as Zach was saying, that they were sitting here in order, they will appear on the ballot. So we have Laura Russell, Zach McKee, and Allison Spencer Russell. And thank you all so much for being here tonight. Good night. Thank you.